And now, if you don't mind, let's get to the news. The U.S. launched joint military strikes with Israel against Iran over the weekend in Operation Epic Fury. Epic Fury? Who's our Secretary of Defense? Cartman? Operation Epic Fury. Is it a missile strike or a new Mountain Dew? Folks, this was even more successful than Operation Baja Blast. The White House released a photo over the weekend of President Trump overseeing military strikes on Iran from a secure room at Mar-a-Lago. But was it a secure room, though? I had a more secure room when I was trying on jeans at Old Navy. That's right, the White House released a photo of President Trump overseeing military strikes on Iran from Mar-a-Lago. Yeah, I probably could have guessed you were in Florida. Look at this guy. You look like you were drunk in a jacuzzi, and they pulled you out to take this picture. That's right, Trump was overseeing military strikes on Iran from Mar-a-Lago. Wait a minute, you started a war in the Middle East and you didn't even go into the office? You're gonna work from home it? How am I gonna get my writers to come into work when the President of the United States treats war like a Teams meeting? President Trump spoke on the phone last night with the New York Times for roughly 6 minutes, but no matter what he said, they refused to tell him the Wordle. President Trump reportedly told FBI Director Kash Patel that he was disappointed with Patel's behavior at the Milan Cortina Winter Olympics, though if I know Trump, he was mostly upset that Kash was in the men's locker room. Have I taught you nothing? Paramount Skydance said today that it plans to merge its Paramount Plus streaming service with HBO Max just when your parents finally figured out how to watch Yellowstone. Burger King has announced it will install a new AI chatbot into employee headsets to monitor customer interactions and make sure they use specific phrases like please, thank you, and welcome back, Mr. President. A metal detectorist in Wales recently found 2 lead ingots that are believed to date back to the Roman era, while the detectorist doesn't date at all. Can we just, in post, can we put in the sound of like somebody hitting beep, beep, beep? And finally, in honor of the expansion of its D subway line, the Los Angeles Metro last week offered new T-shirts that read, Ride the D. They're hoping it sells better than the MTA shirt that reads, I got effed. In a new interview, President Trump said that the military is knocking the crap out of Iran, but added, quote, we haven't even started hitting them hard. The big wave hasn't even happened. The big one is coming soon. Hey, man, the commander-in-chief is supposed to be able to keep military secrets. He's so excited to bomb people, he can't help himself. I wouldn't want to be in Eastern Tehran at 3 a.m. tomorrow. I can tell you that much. Maybe he's not in the Epstein files. It honestly feels like he would have told us by now. During a Medal of Honor ceremony yesterday at the White House, President Trump began talking about the curtains and said, quote, I picked those drapes in my first term. I always liked gold. We know. That's like Santa mentioning he always liked Christmas. You guys will never guess my favorite holiday. It's not what you think. You got it, Christmas. During the same ceremony, President Trump also said that he's tried to get a Medal of Honor for himself, but added that he was told it would, quote, be bad protocol. I just want you to consider how many things he's admitting here. He's admitting he tried to give himself a Medal of Honor. He's admitting that it's a bad look. And he's admitting he had to be told it's a bad look. It's one thing you have a puppy that has to be told not to piss in the house. This is like a 16-year-old dog that still has to be told not to piss in the house. How are you not getting this? The White House released a video on Friday of administration officials sharing their favorite memories with President Trump. And Marco Rubio said, that time he got my name right. During a visit on Friday to a Texas Whataburger location, President Trump spoke to a crowd of customers and said he hopes they do not drink alcohol. They're dining in at Whataburger on a Friday night. They do. The indoor water park chain Great Wolf Lodge this week will offer a limited edition milkshake that blends vanilla ice cream and ranch dressing. And after one of those, you become the water slide. What I like is the tail of that joke felt like you were going down a water slide. It was like, oh! The pizza chain Papa John's has announced that it will close 300 underperforming restaurants, but how do you tell which ones are underperforming when they're all selling Papa John's? Times Square performer The Naked Cowboy has reportedly divorced his wife and fellow performer, The Naked Cowgirl, but there's been cracks in the relationship for a while. I feel bad for the person who set him up. They're like, you gotta meet my friend! According to a new book, the conclave that elected Pope Leo last year was interrupted after Vatican security officials detected an active mobile connection, and an older cardinal discovered he had a phone in his pocket because you just know that flashlight was on. And finally, Disney World's Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith shut down over the weekend so it can be reopened as the Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets. And the good news is they didn't have to change it very much. When asked during an Oval Office meeting yesterday if he had any top picks to take over the Iranian government, President Trump said, quote, well, most of the people we had in mind are dead. Some for a while now. According to a new report, President Trump exposed a CIA surveillance operation on the late Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei 8 months ago in a post on Truth Social. So if you're wondering how Truth Social's doing, it took 8 months for someone to notice. The son of the late Ayatollah Khamenei has reportedly emerged as a frontrunner to replace his father as Supreme Leader. Man, can you imagine going through all of this to get rid of an evil leader and you just end up with his son? That would be the... No! Take it down! Take it down! President Trump reposted a picture yesterday of himself wearing sunglasses with the caption, quote, I stand with Trump, the most badass president of all time. I don't know. When you're like 30, you look badass in sunglasses. When you're 79, people just try to help you cross the street. Those are the real square ones, too. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth pushed back this week on comparisons of the military operation against Iran to previous U.S. conflicts in the Middle East and said, quote, this is not Iraq. This is not endless. To put it in Hegseth terms, it's just a bender. President Trump said in a post this week on Truth Social that the U.S. has a virtually unlimited munition stockpile and added, quote, wars can be fought forever. Or to put it in Hegseth terms, a bender. A picture has gained attention online this week that shows President Trump with a red rash on his neck, but I think that's just his body rejecting his FIFA Peace Prize. It burns, it burns. President Trump this week reposted a photo of Kentucky Congressman Andy Barr and U.S. Treasurer Brandon Beach discussing Barr's proposal to put Trump's face on a new $250 bill, and that is the perfect currency to plaster his face on. I can't think of anything more useless. What is anyone using a $250 bill for? Buying a vowel? Here's a little something for you, Vanna. Dunkin' today began offering a new sugar-free energy drink called Dunkin' Zero, which, by the way, was Mike Scollins' nickname in high school. I heard your sister was dating that Dunkin' Zero. Mike's a writer on our show, and it might feel mean that we would make that joke about him, but he wrote this next one. Maybe after you hear it, you'll realize why we have to attack him in the body of the show. And finally, a Florida nudist colony was recently listed for $2.5 million, but you can probably lowball them. Dunkin' Zero wrote that one. President Trump announced today that Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem will step down and will be replaced by Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin. If you don't remember, she's the one who had more outfits than Barbie, and he is just Ken. That's right, President Trump. And it is weird when you're like, Kristi Noem stepping down. Everybody's like, woo! And you're like, no, you're not going to be replaced with someone cool. Yeah, Oprah's going to do it. That's right. President Trump announced that Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem will step down, and there's only one thing that can cheer her up right now. For that joke to really land, you got to remember, she killed her dog. Democratic Representative Sidney Kamlager Dove asked Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem if she has had sexual relations with her chief advisor, Corey Lewandowski, yesterday during a House Judiciary Committee that Noem's husband attended. Oh, now it's a meeting. I don't know if I want her to answer or wait for the reunion special. Yeah, everyone's going to be at the reunion special. Except her dog. The White House shared a video yesterday on social media that appeared to combine video game footage as well as real clips of military strikes set to music. I just think it was weird that the video game was Super Mario Brothers. According to a new poll, 59% of Americans oppose U.S. military action in Iran, making it one of President Trump's most popular policies. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said yesterday that President Trump ordered the military strikes against Iran because he had a, quote, good feeling that the Iranian regime was about to attack U.S. assets. And I think it's telling that he considers that a good feeling. The National Capital Planning Commission held a vote today on whether to move forward with President Trump's plan for a 90,000 square foot White House ballroom. A little late. We're either getting a ballroom in the East Wing or a lot of natural light. President Trump hosted the Inter Milan CF soccer team today at the White House to celebrate their 2025 Major League Soccer championship. Apparently, he has a soft spot for soccer because he's also not allowed to use his hands. By the way, I don't blame her. Have you seen one of his hands right now? Got a weird-looking hand. President Trump is reportedly planning to endorse Republican Senator John Cornyn in the Texas GOP Senate primary, unless, of course, Zoran decides to run. Authorities in England are looking for a team of thieves who allegedly robbed a jewelry store during the day by cutting open a glass case with a circular saw before escaping on a moped. But don't worry, they have their best guy on the case. A California man was recently sentenced to 4 years in prison for allegedly stealing $1,000 worth of Pokemon cards, but if his cellmate asks, he killed a guy. Authorities in Georgia recently warned parents to check their child's lunch after a student mistakenly had a canned Cutwater lemon drop martini in their lunchbox. Because even at that age, you're too mature for a Cutwater lemon drop martini. Martini, shaken, not stirred. Cutwater if you have it. And finally, a dog in England recently gave birth to a litter of 17 puppies, which is believed to be the largest ever litter of Irish doodles. Yeah, you didn't need to tell us she was Irish. That was a monologue, everybody. Hey, we got a good show.